Hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And it's Friday, time for our McDuff and Marcia Friday live chat. Hey, Marcia.
Hello, happy Valentine's Day to you and to everybody out there.
Besitos.
Besitos a todos.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And a special happy Valentine's Day to Doug Valentine, who has his own day every year, just named after him because of all his great work. And we wish him well.
How do I get one of those?
A day of your own?
Yeah, like today is Marcia's Day.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, maybe ask President Trump.
He could issue an executive order.
An executive order? What's that?
Yeah, like you don't know. He could declare my birthday National Marcia Day.
Okay. Actually, that's National Land on the Moon Day.
Yes, it is. I know that.
I knew you knew that, but not everybody knew that.
That's true.
Yeah. So you landed first, and then Neil Armstrong landed on the moon.
13 years later, yes. I know, that gives away my age. Who cares?
Yeah. Who cares? You're still young to me.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I remember our very first charrette in Annapolis, and it was that day, and it was the 50th anniversary of the landing on the moon.
And instead of celebrating that,
right,
we were out in Annapolis and in the harbor, and then in the Chesapeake Bay and in the Chester River, and
that's right.
Over at Chestertown, we had a big banquet there. It was terrific.
Right. We went out and celebrated the 50th anniversary of my 13th birthday.
It was all for Marcia.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful thing to have everybody together. Peter Duke was there. Yep, George Webb, of course. Tara and Dave were there, our good friends. Yeah, Tara. Remember when Tara sang? It was beautiful.
It was. It was. Yeah, that was a really nice night. So, okay, I don't have to ask for an executive order. We have here declared this to be National Marcia Day, that date.
And our first chiming in is from Sierra. Afternoon from the Maritimes. All right, let's think about this. Afternoon from the Maritimes. I thought the Maritimes meant like, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI. So, but that couldn't be in the afternoon, could it? No, must be different Maritimes.
Yeah, that's what it says here on Wikipedia.
Okay, well. Okay.
Well, but you know what? It's an hour later.
It is?
It might be because it's far enough east.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Atlantic Time, she says. Okay, Sierra, I don't know whether male or female. It looks like a rabbit to me. Is that a rabbit? Yeah.
I can't tell.
Or a cat. Anyway, Sierra, thank you for...
in Nova Scotia.
Okay, Nova Scotia. Gosh.
I've never been there. I'd like to go there sometime.
I know. It's so far, though.
It is, but you know what we do? We pack up the doggies.
Yeah.
And we get in the car.
Yeah.
And we drive.
And you just drive.
And you just keep driving. We could see New England.
Yeah.
And then go on to Canada.
Yeah.
See that whole part of Canada. That would be a fun summer trip.
Yeah. I love to do that. But
yeah, we should do that.
Road trip. I used to not like driving because, I had back injuries and stuff, but I'm okay with it now. For some reason, I'm along with all the other improvements in my health, I really don't suffer from that old sciatica anymore.
Yeah,
you
were a good traveler when we went on our road trip in June. I think we covered not as many miles as we would cover in the trip that I'm describing now, but we covered a lot of miles.
And here's some more information from Sierra. Moved here in 2019. When I started watching, I was in Quebec. Probably closer to you here, LOL. Maybe. Oh, gosh. I was in Quebec once a long time ago, 20 years ago. Yeah. Beautiful. But again, it's a long drive,
Yeah. Well, you didn't drive that time, did you?
Drove from Montreal,
Wow.
which is, that's pretty good ways. But Canada, oh, Canada, what you gonna do now? Trump's putting the pressure on, and poor old Trudeau. What what can he do? I'll tariff you, and you tariff me, and we'll just see who wins. Like an old Western gunfight. You know. But anyway, Trump's really serious. He says he's really wants to make Canada the 51st state.
Yes. Some folks are commenting about my audio. Marcia sounds as if she's in the cellar.
Uh-oh, let's see if that.
What did we do?
I'm going to check the audio and see.
Let me.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I got it. All right. I killed it. I was trying to make sure that the microphone on the computer was muted, and instead I unmuted it.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what would be causing me to sound like I'm in the cellar.
Well, I think you probably just fixed it because, that's what happens when sometimes the computer drifts away from the settings you had it at the last time you used it, and you have to reset it. Who knows? Well, let's ask for an audio reading. How's Marcia's audio, please? Give us a clarity and volume reading.
In the meantime, David Underdown wants to know what is served at a traditional Marcia Day celebration. And I don't know. That's a really good question, David. I think that I would have to think that one through, but it's going to be whole food, plant-based.
Mangoes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And tangerines.
Oh, yeah. Lots of tangerines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grapes.
There's going to be some chocolate involved also.
Lots of fruit, though.
Yeah. Lots of fruit. Grapes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But chocolate. There's got to be chocolate.
Hey, guys, Marcia made the best pizza last night, and I have to tell you, this whole food plant-based eating is pretty darn good. One of the main things that you get away from things that taste processed or having sugar in them, and you get the real taste of things, and then you go for it's got to be fresh, it's got to be organic, and and so things just taste. There's just more flavor to things, is what I would say, than generally when you get it from the grocery store. As well as it's remarkable as what you can do without having to use cheese, for instance, that you do on the pizzas. It's really doable, and I'm amazed. But I think I owe my good health to the whole food plant-based eating that Marcia has taken up, and we've been practicing now for well
over a year.
Yeah, since November of 23. Anyway, that's our secret to feeling so good after
good living,
having a lot of serious stuff going on.
Yeah, well, we do still though tend to be a little bit rough on our extremities.
Floridians talking about mysterious fog with chemical smell, respiratory issues increasing.
Interesting.
This I've seen this posts like this over at least a month, because there would be videos of what looks like kind of almost like a sleet storm or something. It's fog. They describe it as fog, but you can almost see little bitty particles or the traces of particles in this fog. And one of the articles said it was Serratia maricans, which is the supposedly harmless bacteria that they've been using to test the dispersion patterns of airborne bioweapons.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, this is this is when one of Adam Finnegan's big discoveries really is how this Serratia americans, which was sprayed all over San Francisco famously
Right.
and other places.
Leading to at least one death.
And other places that probably that we haven't been told about, but definitely down south with these where they're spraying for mosquitoes, for instance. There's a lot of spraying going on, and this Serratia americans is not inert. It's not safe, and yet they're using it. It's freaky. Of course, that report might be wrong, but there's been a lot of reports, at least a month ago, that I saw, and now we're seeing more. So it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Okay, let's see. Mr. MBB 3033 channel has covered that. Thanks, Corky. And Corky says you sound faint.
Yeah. I don't know.
Are you louder now? I'm turning it up.
We'll see. It's a good question. What you and I hear is different from what they hear out there on.
Keep speaking.
Okay. Now I'm speaking. And now my microphone is back on.
Okay. So did the volume change as I was just moving that slider on my board, guys?
Let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a minute for the reactions to come back.
Marcia, the question is, do you have a cookbook or recipes to share?
What I would recommend is to get the China Study Cookbook, or go to the Center for Nutrition Studies website, which is nutritionstudies.org. Tons and tons and tons of recipes there. It's a wonderful, wonderful website. Others that I would recommend include Dr. Greger, which is nutritionfacts.org. He has a cookbook. There's a wonderful cookbook that was done by the daughter and wife of Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who is one of the pioneers in whole food plant-based studies and work on health, especially cardiovascular. And the name of that cookbook is the Warrior Woman's Cookbook, and it's Esselstyn, Esselstyn. And they have some wonderful recipes too, as well as a YouTube channel. So all of those would be wonderful resources for whole food plant-based.
And hello, Polly. J.D. Vance gave such a powerful speech in Munich. Thank you. Thank you, Sierra. Yeah, I saw some of it. I don't know if you did.
I didn't.
Yeah. So he's really just asserting what President Trump's policy is, and basically letting it be known that the United States is not dependent upon the European Union. And the real guts of it to me is that we're no longer going to negotiate with the European Union as an entity, that we're going to negotiate with individual countries. We're going to go back to having a deal with France and a deal with Germany and a deal with Poland and a deal with Italy, but not a deal with this entity called the EU, which is going to crash the EU. I think that's good, because I don't like the EU policy, and I don't like the way that EU policy has been imposed upon the people of Europe by people that are not elected. So, and in the way that we talked with Harley Schlanger last time on Tuesday, where we were talking about Romania, and how even though it seems that the EU didn't have the overt power to overthrow the government of Romania, that they could do it because of the financial ties between Romania and the EU, in which Romania had been paying all of its dues and everything, but the EU just decided, well, we're going to cut off all of the EU benefits that you paid for unless you strike the results of the election. And now I think, those kind of tactics, seeing that going on makes me feel like I don't need the EU.
Right.
And you know, when we were in Italy a long time ago, was it about?
Feels like, well, actually, it was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went to some shops, and one of the shops I went to was a music shop. Of course, that's where I want to go, right?
In
And
Florence.
but was talking to the man behind the counter, and they had just had the EU started imposing all of these restrictions and
Yeah.
on trade. And what I kind of asked, how's everything going? And he said, well, really, it's bad. It's bad because Italy, we don't have the the internal trade. We have to trade with other countries to get what we want, and what because we can't protect our industries, we are just doomed to lose money. And so we're losing money, and that gets right to the issue of Trump's tariffs.
Exactly.
So
yes. Yeah. And how do you protect your local manufacturing, your local industries?
this is interesting. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and one of the other ones have roots in South Africa.
They grew up there.
And you think about Mark Rich, and the frauds that he pulled off on behalf of Israel, and whatever criminal oligarchs he was working with. The the ties between Great Britain and the real powers in South Africa may never have been broken. I consider that both South Africa and Israel are more likely doing the will of the real British money, the city of London, and the British oligarchical power, than the people of either South Africa or Israel. I just, if they were independent, then people would live in peace in the country. But that has just been the big theme of my studies, is that so much of the troubles in the world are stirred up by the empire that still exists, that exists over time, and most people are unaware of.
Right. And that's the key. Most people are unaware of.
It's unbelievable, really. I think J. Edgar Hoover said that, there is a conspiracy so vast that that confronted with it, people would be unbelievable, unable to believe it.
Well, and we see that every day. That people are unable to believe it because you talk about it and get eye rolls, or, the digital media equivalent of eye rolls.
Yeah. And one of the great conspiracies is what Adam Finnegan pointed out, and that is that the great powers have conspired to cover up all the biological warfare that they all engaged in over the past 150 years. And so they won't let Adam's book rise to the surface where it should be, to enlighten people as to why in the hell we have all of these chronic diseases. They didn't start in 2019. People are posting about Operation Sea Spray. I think that's the one in San Francisco that was so famous, or is becoming infamous, I suppose. Yeah. Okay. And Brightmoor dinosaur. Hey, Brightmoor. Chemical fog reported nationwide. Yeah. They're calling it a chemical fog. I don't know if anybody's analyzed it yet. Oh, Marcia still sounds distant.
For some reason, and that was the case when I first started joining you, and you and I worked out something that fixed the problem. And for some reason, it's back, and I can't remember what we did to fix it before. I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
I see it.
It was you.
It was the program. You remember what I was telling you, that sometimes the computer will just drift away from where you had it
Yes, you did
set.
say that. Yes.
And you were looking at me askance, like, yeah, sure, that's not it. But that was it. It was just that it was on my computer and not on yours.
I see. Okay.
Okay.
Let us know if that fixed the problem.
Right.
And
Yes.
I'm happy to repeat anything you might have missed.
And it's still Valentine's Day.
Yes. I'm not sure the relevance of that, but that's okay. Let's move on to what they want to talk about.
I think the volume is fixed now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, the Munich speech. And it was also fun to watch Ursula von der Leyen trying to be relevant. Really. Yeah. Well, abstaining is good too. Abstaining from the nasty trifecta. And yeah, I mean,
Sugar, fat, and oil. I mean, sugar, fat, and salt.
that certainly is part of it.
Yeah, I think we fixed that.
Oh, yeah, he was talking about censorship too, Polly. Thanks.
Well, that's a little ironic.
Told the Europeans that censorship is not the way to go. Okay, there's two things here. First of all, Europe has been censoring,
Yes.
even worse than YouTube has been censoring. But, and I would love to see J.D. Vance wave a magic wand and suddenly my two big YouTube channels reappear.
Right. Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be fantastic. And that would be a sign that we're past, this censorship, which is really driven by the military behind the scenes. And then there is the question of the unequal treatment of some censorship issues.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about APAC and ADL and all of those Israeli flags in front of our representatives'
There is that,
offices.
Yes.
So that's the main irony that comes to my mind, is that we're preaching against censorship, except for we're going to adopt this rather broad definition of anti-Semitism and cause it to become a crime. That to me is nothing but censorship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Though there is new censorship happening. And I'm sorry to say, like I said to you this morning, I think the whole thing going on with the Kennedy Center and the arts is a form of censorship. And that's troubling.
I saw something about it and I didn't look into the details. Tell us about what's going on.
Well, the Kennedy Center, first of all, a number of board members were fired and new board members appointed. And then they elected President Trump to be the head of the board, the director of the board, or whatever the title is, for the Kennedy Center. And now a lot of programs are starting to get canceled. And they are canceling anything that has any sign that could be interpreted as anything related to LGBT issues, even if those things aren't expressed. And the one example that I read about was a children's program about a shark who doesn't feel comfortable around other sharks. He really wants to hang out with the other fish because he identifies with the fish more. And that's all that's said about feeling different. And, who hasn't felt different in their lifetime? Children all the time. No matter what the issue is, they feel different. They feel like they have different tastes and different interests. And I remember in college even how everybody was going around freshman year in college pretending that they fit in. And we all finally discovered one day in a conversation that none of us felt like we fit in. I think that's the human condition growing up. So what a great program to have for children, but no, got canceled. So that's the censorship in the arts that I'm talking about.
Wouldn't mind an hour on censorship between John and David. David, that's a good idea. Yeah. Let's get David back on. Will you join me sometime soon, David? I hope we can have another show real soon. It's been a couple weeks. Brightmore says, as Germany weakens, so goes the EU. I guess Germany has kind of weakened itself by sending all their stuff to Ukraine, and their money, I mean, how are they going to, they're never going to get that money back. These like people bet, they bet the house, they bet the farm on winning the Ukraine war.
Mm-hmm.
And they ain't going to win the Ukraine war.
Which, by the way,
excuse me,
I'm also very in favor of Trump's notion that we deserve certain rights to Ukraine's minerals because of all of the help we gave them during this war. I like that. What a smart idea.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think it's great. President Trump has a way of, I don't know if I talked about this on the show or not, but from my profession as a trial lawyer, really the goal of being somebody's lawyer when you're headed for trial is to not go to trial. You want to have everything settled, and then nobody gets stressed out, and the jury doesn't have to beat their head against the wall trying to figure out who's lying and all that stuff. It's all settled, and everybody goes home. But if you want to settle something, you have to ask for more than what you want when you start.
Right.
This is what you all hear, all these lawsuits like, so-and-so is suing for $10 million. Okay. They're not going to get $10 million. They don't even have any dream of getting $10 million, but you ask for it. Well, then the other side, someday they're going to say, okay, we'll give you $1,500. What do you think? And, at some point, everybody has to stop being silly and get real, or else it's going to trial. And most times, both sides don't want to go to trial.
Right.
Because they're risking things. And so anyway, that's what I think Trump does, is he stakes out this really outrageous position. We're going to buy Denmark, we're taking Panama Canal back, and then he gets what he wants.
And as you have pointed out, Trump has spent his career negotiating. He knows how to negotiate.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important.
But as far as Germany weakening, all of Europe is weaker, and it doesn't look good for the people that have invested in West European facilities.
Mm-hmm.
As Harley tells us, the trains don't run very well. They don't run on time, and that's really bad for Germany.
Right, because you always hear about German efficiency.
Yeah, and whenever I was in Europe, if I traveled by train, it was fantastic. It's like, this is great. See all the scenery, talk to people. I loved it. But if the whole thing is breaking down, it's so sad. But why is it breaking down? Because the previous American administrations have forced Europe to finance the war in Ukraine.
Right.
The Broderbund. Okay, I'm not sure I remember exactly what that is. Is that from the Huguenots, or is that something more recent? I don't remember the reference. Too many new conspiracies to keep up with. I think we're getting rid of some of the old conspiracies. Gosh, that opens the question of, are we really going to find out about JFK? Are we really going to find out about 9/11?
The whole JFK thing, when he signed that executive order, that was 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he said he was going to give 15 days for his team to come back with a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't seen anything yet.
Well, there is I mean, I'm seeing secondary reports that the CIA has identified these couple thousand new pages.
There is that, you're right.
And I guess they're going through those now to see, what we're worthy of seeing.
Well, I want to see the plan for releasing and unredacting everything. But yeah, I think it's not that there's new conspiracies, it's that we have become very used to labeling things as conspiracies. It used to be that, can you imagine during the Watergate era if everything had been called a conspiracy theory? It would have gone very differently. But now we just attach that label to everything as a way to discredit those.
I'm just going through the chat, and yes, the sound
Yeah,
is fixed.
but-
That was what happened. My
Yeah,
fault.
but you're a little bit behind. There's been a lot of. That was 10 minutes ago.
Ukraine claims Russian drone hit Chernobyl. False flag as though writing on the wall appears to Zelensky after excess remarks. I think, Brightmore, you might watch Military Summary with me, because that's what I gathered this morning as I saw the morning report from Dima. Something hit the containment dome at Chernobyl and caused an explosion. No harm was done, apparently, but who did it? And Zelensky, of course, is blaming Russia for doing it. But what it looks like is kind of a temper tantrum on Zelensky's part to say, look, if you guys don't cut me in, I'm going to blow up Chernobyl, and then you'll have a black swan event of huge magnitude. So you better cut me back into the deal, because Putin and Trump are cutting him right out.
Right.
So I think you're right, Brightmore. That's my interpretation too, based upon what I watched. Let's see. Progeny of CAIN. I'm not sure what that means. New algorithms on YouTube. Okay. Maybe somebody will flip a switch for me and give me my channels back. Oh, it'd be so cool. I had like almost 12,000 subs on one of them and 4,000 or 5,000 on the other one. CNN changed owners. Okay, maybe YouTube will change owners, or Google. Google is still a mystery to me. I see on my X feed a Google ad that says the United States government is working with Google to preserve U.S. national security. And I'm thinking, well, Google is the people that run YouTube, and they're the ones that are censoring all my stuff. So why are we working with those assholes? Just tell Google to take a hike along with, Zelensky, and, we don't need Google.
Where is it? It's on one of my devices, but only one of them, but I can't remember which one, where when I'm browsing using Safari, I get this constant pop-up saying, would you like to continue on Google? No, I'm going to use Safari. Thank you.
All of our leading politicians in a panic. Yeah, that's what Scott Ritter says. I was watching Scott Ritter some this morning, and yeah, he's being very, he's being really, really validated with what's going on. He just has always said, Russia is not to be toyed with. It's a big, huge player, and you cannot. That Ukraine war was a venture by the West to try to weaken Russia, and it's had the opposite effect on Europe.
Yep. Oh, thank you, Corky. I like sounding perfect.
Okay, David is down. Now,
Up. He says up.
but he means down. He says, I'm down.
No, he says, I would be up for it.
Yes, but down means up. I mean, up means, never mind.
It's getting confusing.
Yeah. Oh, I am a trained arbitrator.
Yes, you
yeah,
are.
the Circuit Court for Charles County used to pay me $300 an hour to arbitrate. And yeah, but I walked away from that. I just did not want to do any more legal stuff. I just was done with it. And I'm so glad I don't do it anymore.
Me too. I'm so glad you don't do it anymore. I like you better as a not lawyer. You're more fun to live with.
Sierra, you'll tweet me on Late A Driver to ask if I want to schedule an hour on a topic. Hint, hint.
Oh, now I see Sierra's picture better, though. It is a cat
Yeah. Okay.
and an eye.
Okay. Send me a note.
Yeah, I love this. Conspiracy theory. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's perfect. CTT, conspiracy theory.
You know, what was it? It was about 4 days ago that one of my musician friends from long ago, who has always been a liberal, a person that, you know, when I was of a liberal and progressive bent, I looked up to as a really almost heroic figure, because he's a great folk singer, and he, you know, always had the good message and supporting the unions and supporting, you know, the programs that needed support, as well as really just doing some good old American folk music. And anyway, it was sad that you know, a couple of my comments really triggered him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember which ones they were, but then he just fired off the conspiracy theory label at me. He
Right.
said, you're the biggest conspiracy theorist on the internet, or something like that.
And that's really quite a charge.
And then he says, I'm blocking you. And I said, oh, well, I'm sorry, but you know, that's happened so much. But when anybody says conspiracy theorist, Alan Dulles' toes tingle down in hell, and he gets a big charge out of it. So let's quit giving him that little thrill and let him lie
Let
there.
him suffer in hell.
Yeah, I mean, how in the hell is he going to suffer when he's still hoping that there's going to be more tingles coming from? Yeah, so I but you know, it is a tribute to him that people use that phrase, and every time they use it, it's with the intention of disrespecting the other party and shutting down the conversation.
Well, it goes to that thing that I've talked about in the past about shaming shorthand. You know, rather than say, oh, you are just making things up to prove some point that you want to prove. No, you don't have to say all those words. All you have to do is say conspiracy theorist, or whatever the shorthand phrase is that we, you know, put into our conversations these days.
Okay, thanks, Brightmore. Brother Bones were elite Calvinists and friends to the Nazis. Yeah, interesting. Oh, you know, I keep, from time to time, I stop watching Sean Ross for a while, whose program Jure, to me, is one of the most important resources for learning history, especially ancient and European history, that's relevant today. He's fantastic. Well, you know, I was just recently watching him, and he could show you how Protestantism, as well as Nazism, have the same roots. If you go back into the time of the Knights Templar.
Wow.
And it was fascinating, a show he did about a year ago. And anyway, Sean Ross on YouTube Highly recommend. And here Marcia, have you heard about this aircraft carrier
I have
colliding with a
not.
merchant vessel? Yeah, doesn't look good for the captain if he did.
No. But how, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, don't aircraft carriers have tons of warning equipment and a fleet around them, that destroyers and little
Right.
patrol
Right.
craft.
But it's also not so easy to stop a vessel, even a merchant vessel, depending on how its size. They don't stop easily.
Or like that merchant vessel that ran into the Francis Scott Key Bridge just before,
Right.
in December, knocked the bridge down, and it looked like the merchant vessel was just left drifting.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe somebody set a merchant vessel drifting into the aircraft carrier just to be mean.
Near Egypt. I wonder if that was the Red Sea. I'll look that up.
Oh yeah, he's wearing his slippers with his club foot burning, talking about who. I don't know about this. Fighter jet crashed into the bay. What bay? Say the bay to a Marylander, or you can think of the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
But,
I hadn't heard anything about that either.
Okay. Yeah, could be cyber attacks.
Mm-hmm. But cyber attacks raise a red flag for me. And I'm just going to take a second here. I went to an event years ago when I was working that was a kind of a conference with some military representatives talking about economic development and how military bases work with communities. But they wanted to talk about cyber attacks and how the military has no jurisdiction over the internet, and how if they were to see cyber attacks coming, there was nothing they could do about that. And it's always made me wonder, is the military trying to get control of the internet by perpetuating cyber attacks? Oh, does that make me a conspiracy theorist?
Yeah, and no, our military would never conduct a false flag attack, even in a cyber world.
Silly me.
That couldn't be real.
No.
But you know what?
What?
You can say it here at McDuff Lives on Rumble, where they don't censor me, and I am delighted to be uncensored. And fuck YouTube. I know a lot of folks are watching me on YouTube, and I don't mean to offend
And thank you
anyone,
for that. Thank you for watching. But go to Rumble.
Yeah, sign up over at the Rumble channel. It's I'm sorry that there's commercials on the replays. I don't put them there. Rumble puts them in there. And say you have to deal with 3 or 4 seconds of somebody selling something, but on the other hand, I feel safe here. I don't need to, censor my own voice, which, as an American, I just never really thought that would ever happen.
Right.
That's why I lost so many of my first shows. I lost about 900 shows because back then I wasn't worried about losing them. They're right there on YouTube. How could they, why would I need to duplicate it? And I didn't have any way easily to duplicate the shows back then like I do now. So I was just putting it right up on YouTube and trusting that it would stay there. That was so un-American,
right,
to do that.
Right.
And it still is. And
well, yeah, it still is. But how many people are out there going, yay, censor him. He's saying things I don't believe in. That part of it makes me crazy too, because it's all these liberals who are advocating for censorship. Boy, that just makes me crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and they support the big pharma candidates, and, they just don't see. And this is, like mass psychosis, George Webb calls it.
Yeah.
Hey, well wishes to George. I last time he was on, he was really under the weather, and I'm a little concerned about him. So all the best to George Webb,
Yes.
our friend
Yeah.
and colleague.
And supporter.
Yes, he's done a lot to publicize Adam Finnegan's book too. I really do appreciate his publish his helping me publicize that amazing book that, once I read it, I said, this is the most important book I've read in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it still is. But you can't get other people to read it.
No.
And,
No. People don't want to know. People don't want to believe.
You know where it really, all of this really is, it all points to one thing to me. And that is that if they can somehow stop the bleeding before we investigate the Rockefeller Institute, because the Rockefeller Institute, is where Eric Traub was when he was making these discoveries
Mm-hmm.
and learning from other bioweaponeers, and then sharing that, in Germany, and then sharing it in the Soviet Union, and then coming over here and using his knowledge against the American people here in America.
Mm-hmm.
But that wouldn't have happened without the support of the Rockefeller Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And this, the Rockefellers do not want to be exposed. So that, I think, it has something to do with why people are not picking up the sleeper agent and saying, hey, look at this. This explains an awful lot about chronic disease in America and around the world, and Lyme disease, and the infectious ticks that used to not be infectious. There's so much that is explained in this book, but thinking people reading it will say, well, damn, how much of this came from the research that was done at the Rockefeller Institute when they were practicing eugenics? And I don't think I think that is one of the things that maybe Bobby Kennedy has been hired to put a tourniquet on.
Wouldn't that be nice?
No, I mean to stop us looking at it,
Oh.
See, he's all about Fauci, right? He's going to point everything at Fauci and Barrick and all the usual suspects that we talk about not on YouTube, but when we have free speech, the ones that we
right.
A lot of our research colleagues are showing, things that have been done by Robert Gallo, by Fauci,
Mm-hmm.
by this the one that thinks he's that always puts a lion, Malone, Dr. Malone. All of these folks are potential targets, and people like David Martin are pointing at them, full bore. But if we, and I've said this before, if we allow them to put a bow on it and wrap it up and say, okay, this was why we have these chronic diseases. This is why the cancer went up. This is why we're having all of these excess deaths. It all comes from the weaponization of coronavirus done in the United States or in China as their, but all of this stuff is recent. But the point I'm making is if you can blame it on so-and-so at UNC and so-and-so in Germany and all, then you don't have to dig back into the roots of biological warfare, from which Adam has shown our chronic diseases and Lyme disease really come.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very, and Adam is very skeptical about are they going to get past blaming autism on the metals in it instead of looking at the spike antigen that is in there, and whenever they inject them, they're getting more spike antigen. So are we going to be able to push beyond the ones that are already in the public eye to dig deeper and deeper. I think not right now. I think we're going to have to let them, have their day, to say, here's what happened and explain it in their terms. And then we'll have to wait 6 months or a year until they've already expired everything they have to say. And then we come in and say, now,
Define they.
HHS,
Okay.
NIH, the new Trump administration,
Gotcha.
the Trump world order. What are they going to do? How far are they willing to look back? And I haven't seen anybody willing to look back as far as Adam has, where the roots of these horrible diseases are still hidden under the mutual agreed policy of the major powers not to reveal. If you tell them what you did, what I did, I'll tell them what you did. Let's see here. Yeah, Sean Ross is HROSS, and the show is called Giureh, Giureh.
But that's a good point. It is important to, when we talk about these things, make it easy for folks to find them. So thank you, Brightmore.
Oh, I think Jonathan here is not a George Webb fan, so. All right, we got 5 minutes left if anybody wants to bring up any new topics. I can't believe we got down to the bottom of it.
Yeah, good work.
During the show.
Good work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it.
With your left hand.
Yeah. No, with my right hand, with my hard cast. Yeah, I fell down last week, in case you didn't know, and broke my my arm right at the wrist, and so now
4 weeks of a cast.
Yeah.
It's been only 1 week.
Two, almost a week and a half. Yeah, it was a Monday.
You fell on a Monday night.
And today's Friday.
And you got the cast on a Tuesday.
Yeah. So
all right, so a week and a half. You're right. You're right.
Of course I'm right. I'm always right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a reference I made earlier about us being so rough on our extremities, because then this past Monday or Tuesday, I don't remember which, I was chopping up some potatoes and I kind of chopped off the tip of my thumb. So we, between us, have two good hands.
David says, our fans of Best in Show. I guess that's the dog show thing.
Oh, the Westminster Kennel Club, the Westminster Dog Show just wrapped up, and this is the giant schnauzer won Best in Show.
Google Hannah polling. U.S.'s expert examining MMR brain injury found that MMR jab caused inflammation leading to autism. Government paid off Hannah's parents, made a law prohibiting lawsuits against vax injuries. Yeah, I didn't know the story in particular, but it sounds right. We definitely have laws against suing, pharma for vax injuries.
Mm-hmm.
It's these eugenicists, it's these people that wanted to shape humanity, to create a perfect, not human individual, but humanity itself, to advance the whole human race forward. And how do you do that? Well, one way you do it is you get rid of the lesser ones, the ones that aren't contributing to, the growth of science and technology and, energy and labor. And, the people that don't add anything, they're just useless eaters. I think it's Henry Kissinger's phrase, useless eaters.
Right. But they do spend money. And I think that, we want them to go out and work and make money so that they can buy our products. So let's create a system where they continue to buy our products so that we can get richer.
Best in Show is a fun movie.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, so I didn't catch the reference.
Best in Show is you remember, oh gosh, what's the movie about the rock band? The other one that the same filmmakers made. Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. It's from the same, Best in Show is from the same team that brought you This is Spinal Tap.
Oh, okay.
So it's a mockumentary. Yes. It's wonderful. It's very funny.
Do the dogs have an 11 on their dial?
They might. I don't remember.
Okay. Jonathan has a suggestion. Once a month, try a larger. Oh, let me put it up. Try a larger discussion amongst this interested audience members. Okay. I don't know the Canadian thing, but yeah, I guess the idea would be we could send out some invitations to have David join us or some other folks join us.
Mm-hmm. You've actually talked about it.
Like
Yeah.
Sierra was talking about wanting to do a show or talk about some hint thing.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Marcia? Would you like to do that?
I think it would be fabulous. We could try it. There's no harm in trying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe next Friday, if people want to participate in the show, send me a note at koproductionsusa@gmail.com and put show in the heading. Put McDuff Show in the heading so it doesn't go to my spam. And
What's the max you can do on Rumble?
I think we can do a good number. It's not Rumble, it's StreamYard.
I mean StreamYard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway,
what I
I know I can do at least 6. Maybe it's 8 or maybe it's 10. I've never really tried to do, what you might call a webinar.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, well, expanding to Friday to you and me is a step forward in technology.
Mhm.
It took us a while to get it set up. We still obviously have some wrinkles to iron out. But we've got a procedure where we get set up in time and the lighting is right. I think we've pretty much got a lot of the technical stuff behind us. So yeah, and it would be easy really to just add another person or two. And
Exactly. I was going to
broader-
say, start
broader
with
discussion.
just a person or two.
Yeah.
And that could be very fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, send me an email and we will pick a person or two for next Friday and take you up on that. Well, Jonathan says he's been in ITV for decades. Great. See, there's so many people in our audience that have these great,
Expertise.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and bringing new people in has always been part of what we do. I love meeting new guests, and we've had so many dozens and dozens of people from all around the world and on the show over the years.
And we learn from each other. I think that that's the best part of it.
Well, I learned a lot this morning, and I got a few notes to follow up on in the chat room. Thanks, everybody, for your contributions. And
Yes. Thank you for being here. And again, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Hope you get some time with your loved ones.
All right. Bye-bye now.